This is Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2. We have Romeo, who is back at the Capulet Mansion, just outside Juliet's room. And he has been listening to his friends call to him because they are looking for him and they're wondering where he is, and purposely ignoring them as they call to him.
He jests at scars that never felt a wound.
So that line right there is referring to Mercutio. So Mercutio's been kind of making fun of Romeo about this love, and Romeo says, yeah, it's easy for someone to joke about these scars when they have never felt love. Mercutio's never been in love, so he doesn't understand what Romeo is going through. So next, we have Romeo giving a soliloquy as Juliet appears in her window. So she can't hear him. He is alone, and he is just kind of professing her love to her or about her on his own.
But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses. I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars as daylight doth a lamp. Her eye in heaven would through the airy regions stream so bright that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek.
So Romeo is smitten with Juliet. So he says, oh, I love her so much. I wish I could just tell her. I wish she could hear me. And he's looking at her and he's talking about her eyes and how they twinkle. And it's as if her eyes are two of the brightest stars in the whole sky. And they're just shining so brightly that the birds are going to start singing because they'll think that the sun has come up. That's how bright her eyes are. And she's shining like the sun, and she's just amazing and beautiful. And her hand touches her cheek, and he wishes he could be a glove on her hand so he could touch her cheek. He is just in love with Juliet. And she doesn't know that he's there yet, but she is out now on her balcony.
She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven unto the white upturned wandering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air.
Oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this?
So Juliet comes out and she starts talking. She doesn't know Romeo's there, but she's talking about him just like he's talking about her. And she says, oh, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? So that doesn't mean where are you? It means why does your name have to be Romeo? Why are you a Montague? I love you so much, but you have that name that's just bad. And she says, forget about your father, change your name, or I'll change my name, and I'll stop being a Capulet so we don't have to be in this feud. And Romeo hears her, And he kind of says to himself, should I listen? Should I interrupt her? Because she's going to give this big long speech now, and he's going to kind of eavesdrop. So what follows is Juliet's soliloquy about Romeo.
Thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for thy name which is no part of thee, take all myself.
So Juliet says, let's just not call you Romeo. Any other name would be fine because I love you. It doesn't matter that you're a Montague. It doesn't matter that you're Romeo. We'll call you something else. It doesn't matter. I love you.
I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo.
What man art thou that thus bescreamed in night so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name, I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
So Romeo finally speaks up and says, don't call me Romeo then. It's okay. I love you too. And Juliet's a little bit freaked out because there's some random stranger in her backyard. And she says, who is that? Who's talking? And Romeo says, well, I don't really know what to tell you because if I say my name, that's bad. I hate my name. If I had written it down, I would tear up the piece of paper. So he doesn't exactly know how to explain, like, it's me, Romeo, because the name Romeo is so bad.
My ears have yet not drunk 100 words of thy tongue's uttering. Yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo, and the Montague?
Neither, fair maid, if either thee dislike.
So Juliet recognizes his voice. They're in love and everything. So she says, I haven't even heard 100 words of your voice, and yet I know it's you. Is it Romeo? Are you a Montague? And he says, I'll be neither of those if you dislike them. But yes, okay, she knows that it's Romeo now, and she can calm down.
Camest thou hither, tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here.
With love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do that dares love attempt? Therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
Not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to hide me from their eyes. And but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued, wanting of thy love.
So Juliet says, how did you get here? And Romeo says, well, I flew over these walls on the wings of love. So love brought me here. How did you find my window? Love showed me the way. So remember, Romeo's kind of dramatic. And so he doesn't care that he might get in trouble, that the guards might kill him because, oh my gosh, to be without Juliet for a moment longer would be so horrible that he would just rather die.
By whose direction foundst thou out this place?
By love, that first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the farthest sea, I should adventure for such merchandise.
Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face. Else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight. Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke. Farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou may prove false. And lovers' perjuries, they say, Joan loves. Oh, gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkst I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo, but else, not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, and therefore thou mayst think my haviour light. But trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, that thou overheardst ere I was where my true love passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love which the dark night had so discovered.
So Juliet is talking. She's a little bit embarrassed because Romeo heard her speaking, and she says, tell me that you love me. If you love me, say it truly, and I'll say it back. But then she's also a little bit embarrassed because she has fallen in love so quickly. And so she says, if you feel like we're going too fast, let me know. I'll play hard to get, but it'll be really hard for me because I do love you so much. I should have been more reserved. I shouldn't have jumped into this love so fast, but it's kind of done with, and there's really nothing I can do. So tell me that you love me.
Lady, by yonder blessed moon I vow that tips with silver all these fruit tree
Swear not by
tops.
the moon, the inconstant moon that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
What shall I swear by?
Do not swear at all. Or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee.
So Romeo says, I swear by the moon that I love you. And Juliet says, don't swear by the moon. The moon is always changing. It's not constant. You can't swear by that. So Romeo asks, well, what should I swear by then? And she says, well, don't swear at all. But if you have to swear, then swear by your wonderful self, because I idolize you and you are amazing. Swear by yourself that you love me.
My heart's dear
Well,
love.
do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Sweet, good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night. Good night. As sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine.
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again.
Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love?
So Romeo and Juliet have professed their love, and Romeo says, will you leave me so unsatisfied? And Juliet's like, what? What satisfaction could you have tonight? And he says, well, tell me that you love me. And she says, I did. I told you I loved you before we even started talking about this. But yes, I love you. So they have both told one another about their love.
To be frank and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have. For both are infinite. Juliet! I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little, I will come again.
So as Juliet is professing her love to Romeo, the nurse interrupts them and says, hey, Juliet, your mom wants you, or something. And so Juliet has to kind of interrupt because, you remember, she lives at home with her parents. She's 13 years old. And then comes back and says, okay, I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, blessed, blessed night. I am afeard. Being in night, all this is but a dream. Too flattering sweet to be substantial.
3 words, dear Romeo, and then good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honourable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. And all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world. I come anon, but if thou meanst not well, I do beseech thee. By and by I come, to cease thy strife and leave me to my grief. Tomorrow will I send.
So thrive my soul.
1,000 times good night.
So Juliet comes back and she says, okay, if your intentions are that we love each other, then we should get married. And remember, they met a couple hours ago. They have known each other for less than a day. And she says, I love you, you love me. If you want to get married, tell me when and where. I will send you a message tomorrow. And if not, if you don't love me and your intentions are not that, please just leave me alone. But if so, let me know. We'll get married tomorrow. I'll send you a message. And Romeo says, my soul depends on it. Okay, Juliet says goodnight, and she leaves.
1,000 times the worst to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love towards school with heavy looks.
Hist! Romeo! Hist! Oh, for Falconer's voice to lure this tasseled gentle back again. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud. Else would I tear the cave where echo lies and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine with repetition of my Romeo's name. Romeo!
It is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo!
My Nias,
What o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee?
by the hour of 9.
I will not fail. 'Tis 20 year till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back.
Let me stand here till I remember it.
I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company.
And I'll still stay to have thee still forgetting any other home but this.
So Juliet comes back out for another little goodnight kiss, and Juliet says, what time should I message you tomorrow? And Romeo says, 9 o'clock, send a messenger. And she says, oh, it seems like so long until then. How will we possibly survive until we're meeting again? And she says, I don't remember why I came back. And Romeo says, well, I'll stand and I'll wait here until you remember. So she makes a comment about how, well, I'll never remember then, so you'll have to stand here forever. So there's some flirtation going on back and forth there.
It is almost morning. I would have thee gone. And yet no farther than a wanton's bird that lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted gyves. With a silk thread plucks it back again, so loving, jealous of his liberty.
I would I were thy bird.
Sweet, so would I. Yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly sire's close cell, his help to crave, and my dear hap to tell.
Okay, so Juliet and Romeo have finally parted, and Romeo is going to see the friar, the priest, now to ask him for some help. So they have decided they love each other, and they are going to be married. And that is the end of scene 2.